Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I do want to speak about Hector Fort's potential exit and move on towards Rafa Yuste's legacy at FC Barcelona, because it has been said that Rafa Yuste might actually leave the club this summer. And then most importantly, end this video with a brand new La Masia star who is named Dro, a player who also scored in the first preseason game. So there is plenty to discuss for today's video. Let's first talk about Hector Fort, because it does state here that Hector Fort could leave FC Barcelona this summer. Despite being one of the most promising fullbacks to emerge from La Masia, Hector Fort finds himself at a career crossroad. And right now, it does not seem like Hector Fort knows what decision he is going to be making. Could he leave Barcelona or stay at the club? Because Barcelona are now open to selling the player. And that's not because of his lack of quality, but it is because of the financial strategy that Barcelona are moving forward with. I do find it crazy to know that Barcelona want to sell Hector Fort. I mean, like, we already got a comment from Dro a few days ago where he stated that we're going to maintain the exact same squad, but expect a few modifications because Barcelona have to maneuver through this transfer window in a smart way financially. And unfortunately, one of the ways they're going to try and do that is by selling Hector Fort. Dro also explained that there is going to be no big sales. So players like Frankie de Jong, Ronald Araujo are not going to be leaving the club. It's only small little modifications, and Hector Fort fits within those criteria. So speaking about this player, right, I remember he was called up during the 2023-2024 season after having a standout preseason under the guidance of Xavi Hernandez. This was back in the summer of 2023, and Fort made his senior debut in the Champions League match against Royal Antwerp and totaled 10 appearances across all competitions, and he did primarily play as a right back, with also a cameo at the left back position against Athletic Club in the Copa del Rey. He also had an amazing performance against Atletico Madrid away from home. Hector Fort did seem like a very promising and high talented fullback, and this was in those times where Jules Koundé was not the most promising as a right back and sometimes also playing as a center back and did not really deliver. So many were speculating, could Hector Fort finally be our answer? But then we go on to the next season. When Xavi Hernandez left, Hansi Flick came in, and in the 2024-2025 season, a different view was taken by Hansi. Fort's minutes dropped significantly, and he only played around 396 minutes in total, spanning 3 starts and a few substitute appearances. To Flick, in his perspective, he saw Jules Koundé and Eric Garcia as more reliable right backs than compared to Hector Fort. Unfortunately, because Hector Fort did seem like he was gaining momentum, but we barely saw him. Eric Garcia was phenomenal, showcasing his talents and his work ethic in high-stake matches. Jules Koundé was a undisputed starter, phenomenal on the right flank, making those overlapping runs, making those 1-2s with Lamine Yamal, never losing a 1v1 defensive duel. Jules Koundé was that guy. He almost looked like a fool out there. So I think that even though Hector Fort did not play a lot, I don't necessarily believe it's because his level was very low. I think that it's because Eric Garcia and Jules Koundé were such at a high level, Fort just could not match up to that. It was also reported through those months that Flick expressed a preference of experienced fullbacks. He did recognize Fort's self-confidence and potential, but he believed that even with him going on the left back position, Gerard Martin and Alejandro Balde were much better. So there was just no place for a player like him. Flick, as a matter of fact, also commented on Fort's performance against Espanyol a few months ago, and he stated, he's 18 years old, he's on the right path, he has a lot of self-confidence, he knows the areas he needs to improve. We train him on these matters. So it's quite clear that Flick wants him to improve. He knows that he's a special player, but he needs to fulfill those areas that would allow him to finally gain some minutes, and it just does not seem like Fort is meeting those expectations. Very similar to a player like Ansu Fati. So let me know in the comment sections down below, what would you do with Hector Fort? Would you sell the player or would you maintain him, and what would be your sporting plan within the squad? So meanwhile, we do have Rafa Yuste, right? Let's talk about our vice president. He is most likely going to be leaving, and he is closer than ever to join a Saudi club, which is Al Nassr, according to multiple reports. Joan Soler is expected to be the next one in line to replace him as the CEO. Yuste also just returned to FC Barcelona after coming from a trip to Japan, and he said that he came back to Barcelona very early because he wanted to help out Deco to close out the final transfer window in terms of deals and financial operations. It's one of the big things and big goals that Rafa Yuste has left before he does leave. If you guys are wondering why Rafa Yuste is going to Al Nassr, is mainly because of money. Al Nassr is offering Rafa Yuste a lot of money in terms of wages, and I think that, you know, if Rafa Yuste wants to leave, then so be it. It's okay. There's no reasons for us to create tensions with our own vice president right now, especially with the work that he has done. I think that he has to be respected. His legacy is massive in my opinion because, you know, he was appointed back in 2021 at a time when Barcelona were 1.3 billion euros in debt. He led the execution in terms of the economic levers, bringing Barcelona afloat, bringing in the players that they needed to bring in, like Lewandowski, Rafinha, Christensen, Kessie. Because of these economic levers and because of these ideas, it led towards Barcelona having more breathing room and cash flow to rebuild. Of course, we can also talk about fixing the wage bill. At one point, Barcelona's salary cap was 97 million euros and it jumped to 463 million euros after 3 to 4 years. But I believe that his biggest legacy was at La Masia. Yuste always claimed through multiple interviews over the past few years that the academy is a non-negotiable. He supported the promotions of Lamine Yamal, Xavi, Kubarsi, and Pedri. And of course, we're not just talking about player recruitment. We're talking about, like, he stated Pedri should be renewed and paying him a higher wage. And the same thing goes on with Lamine Yamal, renewing Lamine Yamal past 2030. He also led the project of bringing in Hansi Flick by also naming him as a father figure to the youth. And he stated that moving in Flick to this club is the correct decision. And look at what Flick has done to our squad. And most importantly, he also led the Camp Nou renovations and locking down deals like the 280 million euro Spotify deal that brings more stability to the club. So whatever happens, if Rafa Yuste does end up leaving, it's okay. He did the job that needed to be done. He did phenomenal work, and we'll see what he does in these next couple of weeks that might go down as historical. Now, lastly, let's talk about Dro Fernandez. Everybody has been hyped up about this player. Everybody has been talking about this youngster. And at just 17 years old, he scored on his debut against Vissel Kobe. And the reason why the player so betted on is because Flick saw him through multiple first team training sessions and he said, this guy is special. This guy here, who is a number 10 and also a left winger, can bring value to my squad. And that is why we saw Dro go into this game, play a few minutes, and provided immediate impact. To me, when I look at a player like him, I think that he's basically a Pedri that meets futsal, because Dro comes from a futsal background. He also claimed that he grew up admiring players like Isco and Neymar, but now he looks up to Pedri, hence the reason why his dribbling, his creativeness, his ability to move in tight spaces does look like Pedri, but with more ability to be much more of a 10 than anybody else. Once again, his futsal background does give him the balance, the composure, the elegance. Everything about him just seems very unique. And I think that this does provide more competitiveness in the number 10 position. And we already have so many number 10s. We have Rafinha, we have Fermin, we have Xavi, we have Dani Olmo. It's insane what's going on here. In my honest opinion, I think that if Dro really wants to make a name for himself, if we can just add speed to him, maybe be at the same explosiveness of a player like Ansu Fati, I think that we can actually move him to the left wing position because he does seem very comfortable there as well. And I'm talking about the Ansu Fati of 2020, of course, in terms of his explosiveness. If Dro can develop that, he can be a monumental player. He also spoke about how he felt when scoring this goal in the post-match interview. And he stated, I did not even believe it when I scored. I didn't know how to celebrate. I went in very nervous, but Hansi Flick and my teammates calmed me down. And so I do think that he's just getting started. I believe that we are witnessing something special being built here because Flick sees something in him. If you saw his reaction when he scored that goal, Flick was just so happy. And I believe that more minutes are going to be expected in the match against FC Seoul, a game that will be happening on Thursday. Like, fun fact, this player is so special. He's so good. His hometown coach even switched sides. Like, he went from becoming a Real Madrid fan to becoming a FC Barcelona fan. This is what he said. I was a Real Madrid fan, and because of Dro, I already became a Barcelona fan. And that is the kind of character, I'm telling you, and impact Dro brings. It's not just talent, but he brings humility and joy. And I believe that, and I do think that the fans do feel it. Like, to be honest, these fans, after looking through Twitter and like YouTube and Instagram, they're hyped about this player. This kid has aura. So definitely, for sure, looking at the events that have been taking place in the past few weeks, Barcelona is transitioning to a brand new era. We're seeing Fort potentially leaving. Rafa Yuste, who has been with us since 2021, is going to be leaving soon. Dro could also become the next face of La Masia. The cycle of Barcelona never stops, and I'm fascinated with everything that has been going on. So let me know in the comment sections down below. Are you excited with the inclusion of the next La Masia star, Dro? And where would you place him in the starting 11? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.